Hi there, my name is John, and the reason for this video is I just wanted to share with you my experiences bringing a car with a lot of problems down to Mexicali, Mexico for repairs. I apologize. I'm not a videographer, and I'm really not used to being in front of the camera. So please just look at this as an informational thing. I'm here in Mexicali. I've been here for a week, presiding over a whole bunch of repairs on my van, and I just wanted to share what that experience was like with you, because it's been very positive for me so far. I bought a van on eBay, and was a little bit misinformed about what kinds of guarantees eBay had on their vehicles, and basically I foolishly bought a van, and it ended up being misdescribed, and eBay ended up giving me some money back. It's a long story, but basically I ended up with a vehicle that needed a tremendous amount of work, and had I done it in Santa Barbara, it would have been more than the van was worth. I was asked by eBay's insurance company to have a couple of people give me estimates for it, and if I had looking at what both places came up with, it would have been very close to $8,000 was what they thought it would take to repair everything that was wrong with the van. So I took it to Honda of Santa Barbara, and it cost $440 just to tell me what was wrong with it. So right away, I knew I was in trouble. I was going to have to eat this van and practically give it away, unless I was going to give the problems to somebody else, which I didn't want to do that. So I decided, okay, well, you know Spanish, why don't you come to Mexico and figure it out. So I did a bunch of research online looking for a Mexican city that that there was a border town that I could do this, and I didn't want to go to Tijuana. I'm frankly, Tijuana makes me nervous. It's too big, it's too wild, it's too crazy. So after doing some research, I discovered that Mexicali is the same distance from Santa Barbara. It's 5 hours from LA. You figure it out. It's an hour and a half, 2 hours from LA to Santa Barbara. So I don't know. It must be 3 hours, 3.5 hours. I don't know. But I drove, the van could drive still, and so I drove it down, and I got to the border, and it couldn't have been simpler. There was absolutely no wait whatsoever. I had been on the phone with a couple of people, and I decided to bring the car to Automotriz Japonés, and I'll give you a tour of the place. But on the phone, I met there are two mechanics here. There's the old man, and then there's his son, and I've been dealing primarily with the son, whose name is Miguel Gonzalez. And I've been able to, because there was so much work done to the van, I've really gotten to get to know him and stuff, and get to know the way that they repair cars here, and I really couldn't be more impressed. A couple of years ago, when it seemed like, I was in Santa Barbara getting shocks on my '69 Caprice, and it seemed like the shocks were extremely expensive. And when I did research and found out from the person who was going to put the shocks in what shocks they were and how much they cost, and when I looked at O'Reilly's, literally they had it was 3 times the price that they were charging me. So not only was I paying a tremendous amount of money for labor, but I was also having to pay multiple times what the service was, what the price of the shocks were. So here, when I arrived and we looked at everything that needed to be done and so on, first he said, well, he gave me a list of things that really absolutely did not need to be done, and some of it was a major thing. One thing was they thought there was a head gasket leak. Well, no, I mean it was a hose. So that alone, saved a tremendous amount of money. And he showed it to me because I was a little bit skeptical, and I said, well, while we're here, let's replace, since the van has 174,000 miles on it, I thought, let's replace the timing belt, since it would be coming time for the second timing belt. And while we're in there, let's do the water pump. I figure I'm already here. So I got to see what the engine looked like, and sure enough, I mean, it was fine. So I got all of that done. But get this, so when it comes time for parts, right, and you're probably thinking, oh God, parts in Mexico. Well, no, it's not parts in Mexico. So I got into his truck with him, and we went across the border. It took about half an hour, 45 minutes. There was more of a line from here to there, but it wasn't bad at all. Like a mile across the border is this O'Reilly's. And so we go to the auto parts store and we buy all the stuff that we need, and I'm paying it with my credit card right there directly at an American store. And wait, it gets better. So he's got a commercial account there, so he gets 10% off. Well, guess what's happened there? Instead of paying double, triple for the part like you would in the States, because some mechanic is not, is keeping all of that, he gave me his 10% discount. So here it is, I buy all the parts and stuff, get a huge, well, I mean, it seemed like, the parts were like, I don't know, $1,200. So, that's a huge discount right there. So, and he's there to make sure that it's the right parts and so on, and examining them and stuff. And so then we take them out of their boxes so that the Mexican, so there's not a thing at the border. It's not a big deal, and it's not, it's not illegal and stuff like that. But it's just, if you have a bunch of boxes of parts and they want to hassle you, I mean, I don't know. But he was just saying, take them out of their boxes. So we did. And then we just went through. It was a no-brainer. So we go through, and then he gets to work on the car, and I've never had so much transparency. He's like, go away, stay here. I can explain what I'm doing for you. I don't care. I mean, just completely transparent. They don't care if you stand under the lift. I mean, I don't know what what legal things you'd have if the car came down on you. But I mean, literally, like, you can totally you can totally be there, be prepared for him to say, hand me that wrench, but it's totally open. So well, let me kind of give you a little tour around the place so that you can see that the installations are completely modern. I mean, I would this shop is much better and equally or better equipped than the shops in Santa Barbara. So anyway, let me give you a little tour. I'm gonna switch. I'll start it up again. Let's see. So this is the old man's car, and basically, as the sign says, they specialize in Japanese cars, but really they do any kinds of cars. And here's a client that just arrived, and basically it's like they have an amazing reputation, and I was sitting there talking to clients that were waiting for their vehicles. Oh yeah, I've used these guys for years, and I'm going to have them give you a, I'm going to ask Miguel to, give you a little bit of history. His English is pretty good, maybe not fantastic, but it'll be, it'll be fine. But this is basically the main office. They have some employees, but it's a busy shop, so you would want to, I ended up staying at a hotel. The hotels are super nice and inexpensive, and if you're on a budget, I mean, you can get something really cheap. But basically, I was able to get a hotel like 5-6 blocks from here, and that had Wi-Fi and anything else that you would need. This is the van, and as you can see, man, it had all kinds of stuff done. Control arms. I mean, it's just like bristling with new parts. He did. He did the shocks. I don't know if you can see, but there was just all of the brakes. Just a tremendous amount. I mean, I'm not going to bore you with each little thing, but I mean, it was a ton of stuff, and the van drives completely differently now. I mean, it's just it's just a completely different vehicle. So another thing that was an issue on the van was that the carpet was kind of gross, and so he pointed me to, they don't do carpets here, but he pointed me to a guy who did, and through going around, I realized that Mexicali is like a completely car crazy town. They love classics, and there's a lot of people that work on classics around here. And anyway, let me. Sorry, I wasn't sure if we had stopped filming. Anyway, this Mexicali is a funny city. There's a lot of industry, a lot of factories, a lot of Chinese people. I have never seen so many Chinese food places. But basically, it's a place where there's a lot of skilled labor, and this whole neighborhood. I mean, it's funny. Even the streets are called by occupations. Like there's the upholstery street, tapiceros. There's the electricistas. The electricians, and so on and so forth. And I was so amazed because there was like with these shocks, the shocks in the front shocks in this van. The shock goes into the spring, and it's very hard to get the shock out of the spring. I mean, it takes a special piece of equipment. And so basically he was, we drove, 3 blocks over to this other guy who had that equipment, and the guy had a car in the lift, and, Miguel took the shock out, and, with the equipment, and the guy says, I've got this thing going on, and what do you think? And, Miguel poked his head in there, and he goes, oh, you got to do this, and he's in there with his hand, this and that, and then they turned the wheel, and yeah, sure enough, that was it. But it's funny, there isn't really a competitive spirit here that I can see. I mean, it just seems like everybody, they have somebody come in, and if and they help them with what they do, and if you need something else, then he can, then they just direct you to someone else, that actually can do it. And since their reputation, since they sent you there, that's good for the other guy to know, and that's good for you to know. I mean, just that how to explain it anyway, that they're sending you to a guy that they think, is going to be good. And I certainly, we'll meet the guys that are doing, the carpets and repairs, to the interior of my vehicle too. But basically, if you have the stones to come across the border, and really, yes, it does help that I know, that I know Spanish. I'm not going to lie to you, that is helpful. But you can easily, especially if, if you call Miguel, and I'm not doing this isn't a money thing, I'm not, this is an advice thing. I would, he would like to have, more people from the States coming and bringing their cars in here for major repairs, he would. And I'm so grateful for his work that I'm happy to be, the spokesperson for that. I just wanted you to know my angle on this. So anyway, you know, I will provide his number. You can call, you know, talk to him, figure something out. You can probably figure it out. Like, it took me 2 weeks. Like, for example, like I called him and I said, when can you give me your full attention? And he said, well, in 2 weeks, I can, you know, I can totally, and maybe it'll be a week. I don't know what it is, but I mean, you'd want to call and kind of set something up and not expect that, you know, you're just going to show up and everyone's going to drop everything. You know, they might be able to do it, but I wouldn't, you know, just totally count on it. But I want to say that, you know, Mexicali is a super friendly town. They have this mall with a bunch of crazy stores. I got my first, you know, pedicure, and it's amazing. It feels great. But you know, it's just you know, the food's cheap and good, and anyway, it's a great town. And if you're not foolish and, you know, like wandering in bad areas, I mean, you wouldn't want to wander in a bad area in Detroit, I'm sure. You know, it's really a great place. So anyway, that's my experience, and you know, I hope you'll consider it. It's definitely, it saved me thousands. Anyway, thanks. Bye. So I'm in Miguel's shop here in Automotriz Japonesa, and he's working on another car right now. We're waiting for a part on my van to get remanufactured, something to do with the axle that was causing a wobble at a certain speed that Miguel was able to track down really fast. And there was a lot of play. I guess it's like a ball joint or something. There was a lot of play in it, and so anyway, they're doing that. So in the meantime, he's working on this car. So what's the deal with this car? Oh, it came from another shop, and
yeah, it's coming from another shop, and you know, it's was running rough, and I guess the injectors are clogged
okay,
or something like that, and I try to figure out what's the deal.
Okay. How long has the shop been open? How many years have you?
32 years.
32 years.
32 years.
So your dad opened it and he started the business?
Yeah, we started.
Okay, yeah.
And I was young, very young.
Yeah.
And, he was the first mechanic, and we're still working till now.
Yeah, that's great.
So many years.
Can you tell me a little bit about the neighborhood? I mean, this is a neighborhood where people do there are all kinds of different auto shops and different
we have
things.
A few shops around.
Yeah.
And like body shops or upholstery.
Yeah.
That's the name.
Yeah.
Or suspension.
Yeah.
Or glasses or whatever you need for your car.
Yeah. And so there's work on modern cars, but there's also an interest in classic cars here.
Yeah, we have that kind of the shops too. They working on both sides, the new ones and the old ones too.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're trying.
So this is a tapestry shop, and my friend here is doing some of the tears that were in the seats and stuff, and then he's going to redo the carpeting on the inside of the van, and is going to anyway. I'll show you the job when it's done, but I have high hopes. Well, I'm back in the States. This was the carpeting that I had done, and the seats were done. As you can see, you know, I did a really good job. Sorry for the mess. But anyway, it was a fantastic trip, and you know, the van just ran fantastically. I mean, it's like you know, it's like a new vehicle. So anyway, that's my experience. I hope you get something out of it and are able to, you know, risk it, take the trip. I'll include Miguel's information, and anyway, I hope this is helpful for you in some way. Thanks.